And welcome back to the channel. Hot Sauce Beats here with a banger reaction for you. It is Memorial Day weekend and Mark Rober just dropped a brand new video called This Ball is Impossible to Hit. Now, I don't know what this is gonna be about, but I'm guessing it's gonna involve science, Mark Rober's super genius brain, and a baseball that he's gonna compute to make so you can't hit it. I think I'm probably pretty close, but you know we're always about to learn something new and be educated and entertained on a brand new Mark Rober video, and I'm beyond hyped to celebrate this with you guys today. But before we do, make sure you show Mark Rober some love by subscribing to his channel, and if you enjoyed my reaction, smash that subscribe button because it greatly helps. But enough talking, let's get to rocking and roll that bomb ass intro.
Hot Sauce Beats is finally here. Hot Sauce Beats is finally here. Eat, sleep, make beats. Eat, sleep, make beats.
Hot Sauce Beats. Woo, woo. Woo! Apparently we're rocking today. We're not reacting, we're rocking. So let's go.
This is me pitching a ball that's impossible to hit. And I engineered it out of necessity because
Impossible
I'm
to
facing
hit,
off
huh?
against the world's greatest wiffle ball players. Now, wiffle ball is a
I could hit
popular
it.
backyard
I'd hit
version
it.
of baseball here in America.
I
What
loved
makes it
whistle.
really interesting
Now, what I liked even more than wiffle ball was kickball, bro. I was like the Babe Ruth of kickball, fam.
is the balls have these holes on one side, which means they can curve like crazy. But how does that work? And how do baseballs, or really balls from any sport, actually curve through the air for that matter?
That's
so
crazy.
today we're gonna
That's
test
crazy.
our way to find an answer to that question. And since I grew up
Sheesh.
playing countless hours of wiffle ball myself, I'm gonna revive a lifelong dream of going head to head against the pros. And I don't want to give too much away, but I might have had to rely on my engineering skills
Science.
to level the playing field.
You ain't got nothing to get.
Now the whole idea for this journey of discovery
Mark, I think you might be too smart for your own good, homie. You might be too smart for your own God. Look at all those pools. Everybody's got a pool. You get a pool. You get a pool. You get a pool.
started with an impromptu visit to my childhood home in Brea, California. Last time I lived here was over 2 decades ago, so I'm just gonna go ambush him. I want a tour. Hey, what's up? I'm Mark. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I used to live here.
Kinda.
Oh, word got out. So after meeting the whole family, they were kind enough to let me take a walk down memory lane. Oh my gosh. If these walls could talk, you know? I used to keep my micro machines right in this little cabinet here. Up there on the
Oh my God, I loved Micro Machines.
roof is where me and Scott Glacier used to throw water balloons on my sister and her friends sunbathing down here. That's an option for you kids. I also took the chance to confess that all the holes in their metal shed were errant shots from a homemade crossbow I fashioned in 8th grade. There was a target. I wasn't very good at it, apparently. But what made me most happy to hear is how all the neighborhood kids
Jeez.
still played out front all the time. Because while that may look like just a street to some, for us, it was a soccer, hockey, basketball, and baseball stadium where long forgotten
Enjoy it, chat. Regardless of what your age is, just make memories and have fun doing it, man, because time, it flies by.
neighborhood legends were born. Where each game always felt so big, and the only thing that could stop us was when the streetlights
Just
came on,
tripped over the
signaling
ball,
it was
dude.
time to go home for dinner. And to my absolute delight, they let me hop in the game. I'm gonna go ahead and call it right out of the gate. And look, I'm not gonna say it myself. Ah! But were there some murmurs that Mark, the long ball legend Rober, had returned?
The long ball legend, Rober.
I'm not gonna deny it. It's just like old times.
I just want to see him be like, in your face, kid, you suck! You suck, kids!
This is great. Even at the mound, I was still slinging lasers. Still got it. And as invigorating as this was, it did make me question if I'd missed out on my true calling as a professional wiffle ball player. Because you should know, there are actually professional wiffle ball players. And while we share a very similar origin story, our histories split paths when they kept the dream alive and turned those adolescent
And you
visions of
turned into
grandeur
a rocket
the world's
science
first pro wiffle ball
scientist.
league. In fact, this is Kyle as an 11-year-old, and now 14 years later as the league founder and commissioner. He told me every
wow.
year, starting in spring, 8 teams compete in a 4-month season, with players traveling from all over the country. There's a draft, playoff, a World Series, and of course for 14 years they've tracked every possible stat, that is possibly trackable. As you'd expect, there's heated team rivalries and league legends like Jimmy Norp, aka the Norpedo, who's considered by many to be the best pitching, hitting dual threat in the league, and as the reigning back-to-back World Series champ, it's easy to see why. None of them get paid to play, so their truest compensation is the sheer thrill of victory in this game that has united them since childhood. He also told me they'd be playing in Oklahoma right around the time I'd be traveling through. I was finally gonna get my chance to play under the lights in front of an actual crowd, which meant it was time for the long ball legend to refer to himself in the third person and make his professional debut.
The long ball legend!
Cool, but right out of the gate, I spotted the unmistakable flowing hair.
Who's the best?
Back-to-back champ in the house right here.
Of Jimmy, Captain Clutch Norp. This was definitely the big league.
The Norpedo! That's such a cool name, dude.
So we divided up into teams, and it was game on.
All right, here you go, Jimmy.
Oh, he hit
Kyle
it!
connected early to get one man on, so it was over to the Red Baron to make it two.
Oh yeah, Baron.
Nice.
Safe!
And
Safe!
that made it my turn. But I wasn't here to waste time just getting on bases.
I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
Calling the shot.
Over the green monster.
With the street lights of my youth finally being replaced with the stadium lights I'd always dreamed of, this
The big
was
whiffer! The big stinky cheddar!
That feels impossible to hit.
Now, just like in baseball, in wiffle ball you get 4 balls and 3 strikes. And it's a strike if it hits anywhere on the rectangular pipes, or more embarrassingly, the metal plate in the middle.
I'm sorry, team.
And with the crowd visibly unimpressed, I swapped
They're
with
like,
Kyle to pinch run at second base.
No! Everywhere I go, I'm getting out.
So we had 2 outs, but now that I'd cleared the cobwebs out, I could just sense things were about to change. Well, I think we all know I was always more of a pitcher anyways.
Oh, does
It
he
was
got
time
the
to
ball?
give these boys a little taste of old school suburban California street ball. Because Jimmy Norp's reign on Mount
Rover
Olympus
style!
had come to an end.
Oh, whoops. Do you take a base on that?
And with that absolute dinger to center
she
field,
gone!
Captain Clutch
She
had struck again.
gone! Mark Rover has been destroyed! Jeez, nice pitch, bro.
That's witchcraft.
And look, I'm not proud of my performance, but in my defense, unlike the West Coast ball I grew up playing, in the pros, as you can see here, these pitches are moving 10 feet left to right. It's like the ball had propellers, and it makes it nearly impossible to figure out if it's a pitch you should swing at or a pitch
You got a
you
split
should duck
second.
from.
Oh my god, dude. I literally ducked. Oh, I thought I was getting hit. I hope you guys are having a good holiday
Or
weekend,
perhaps
fam.
both.
How did he do that?
And the rest of the game, unfortunately, was just more of the same. Although I am proud to say, in the 3rd inning, I finally got on base.
To the face!
And so despite all my best efforts, they narrowly edged us out for the win. This was not how it was supposed to happen. It was gonna be a long plane ride home, but truthfully, a plan was already forming in my head to science the crud out of this and use my engineering abilities to level the playing field. And step 1 was to fly
just
Jimmy and
sitting in the
Kyle out to
background
Crunch
sulking.
Labs to study exactly how they can curve a ball as much as they do. And after making a bunch of observations and gathering a bunch of data myself, I then marched them straight over to the home of the San Francisco Giants, because they're regarded as the team with the most advanced pitcher development program in all of Major League Baseball.
Right. I don't know much about baseball, so just so you guys know, I'm more of a football, American football, not soccer, but football, NFL, and basketball fan, college and pro, and also the college and pro for football too.
Wow. This feels pretty big.
And right out of the gate, I was incredibly relieved to see their elite players and coaches struggling against the Norpedo just as much as I did.
Jeez. Sheesh!
But then it was into the clubhouse for the real purpose of the trip, to meet with Brian Bannister, whose deep understanding of the science behind a spinning baseball is sort of their secret sauce for developing all these great pitchers. And he's got the hardware to show for it.
When you use these concepts, you win World Series.
And so after that, I was feeling pretty good about my handle on how exactly they were making the ball curve. But as final confirmation on my suspicions, we also met up with the Stanford baseball team to run one last test with a normal baseball versus an identical one that was just missing the seam. And as a further point of indication, I'm happy to report their nationally ranked batters also fell victim to Kyle and the Norpedo.
Oh, Jesus, bro. You watched that.
And so after my extensive data collection, research, and interviews,
see that?
here's the answer as to how any sort of ball curves through the air. And it starts with a riddle. Let's say you're an astronaut on the space station and you go out for a spacewalk to fix a solar panel with your big wrench, and as you're heading out, you get distracted by the view and miss grabbing the handle, and now you're very slowly drifting away. What do you do
dude,
to
that's a
save
pair of
yourself?
mine.
And you might say, well, you just sort of swim your way back. But in zero gravity, as demonstrated here by an actual astronaut, you can flail your arms all you want, but your center of mass won't actually move. All right, so did you think of the answer? The trick is you throw
dead.
the wrench as fast as possible in the opposite direction, and that will give you just a little push to slowly move you back to the space station. And this makes intuitive sense, right? Like if you're on a skateboard and you throw something heavy to the right, you're gonna move back to the left.
Nate! You had one job!
Well, this is exactly how rockets move around in space where there's no air. They create a chemical reaction from their fuel to make a lot of tiny wrenches, and they just throw them
lot
into
of
the back
tiny
really
wrenches.
fast, and the rocket naturally has to go the other way, just like you as an astronaut. So that's one thing you need to know, and the other
Makes
is
a lot
the
of
Coulomb
tiny
effect,
wrenches.
which states that fluids like to curve and flow around a smooth surface. You actually already know this if you've ever noticed how water will flow around a curved spoon. Well, air is also a fluid, and so it curves just like water, as you can see here, because the strings are following with the airflow as it turns the round corner on the frisbee. Okay, so now let's put those
Science.
two concepts together. From the ball's perspective, air is rushing past on the top side here and curving around really nicely because the rotation of the ball matches great with the airflow. But on the bottom side, they're opposite. So there's sort of a head-on collision with the air rushing by.
A perfect
creating turbulence.
storm,
That
if you
means
will.
More air curves around the top.
Look
which
at all
means
those wrenches.
More little air wrenches are thrown
at all
diagonally
those air
down,
wrenches.
and as a result, the backspun ball moves diagonally up, just like the astronaut, causing it to curve up. The fancy term for this is the Magnus effect, and big light balls like beach balls are great for demonstrating this effect because they have lots of surface area, so they throw off lots of wrenches, but they're also really light,
All the
so
wrenches.
air wrenches have more of an effect. And now that you know this, you know exactly what causes the curve on tennis balls, soccer balls, ping pong balls, record-breaking basketballs, golf balls, and baseballs. With the baseball, the seams help grab even more air wrenches as the ball spins, but they also provide the pitchers a better grip so they can spin the ball even faster. Our normal versus smooth ball test confirmed this when the normal baseball with seams was curving so much more. By the way, this same principle is how frisbees seem to defy gravity, because air curves over the smooth edge, throwing wrenches down all around.
All the
turning it
wrenches,
into
chat.
a freaking
All the
jetpack.
wrenches.
Now, having said that, you should know that the wiffle ball is very similar, yet slightly different than all of those. As long as you scuff up the side with the holes, which is something all serious players will do, then by comparison, this side is now much smoother. That means the air has a much easier time curving around like water on a smooth spoon, throwing down the air wrenches, causing the ball to lift towards the smooth side. And sure enough, when we check the high-speed footage, we see that in every case, the ball is curving towards the smooth side and away from the holes. So now whenever you see a ball curving, just think of tiny little astronaut wrenches flying off the back of the ball as it spins through
What's
the
funny is I'm gonna see that, bro. Everything I see now is just gonna be these little astronaut wrenches just getting thrown off. Like whenever I slam on the gas, vroom, I'm gonna see little wrenches shooting out the back of my Jeep. Bup, 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 bup.
And now that I knew their secrets to ball curvature, it was time to use that knowledge to engineer some sweet
Science.
revenge with an 18-second
Yeah,
build
baby,
montage.
science!
so
He
it
just make a
backed
drone
Oklahoma with
wiffle
a
ball?
duffel bag full of surprises addressed specifically for Jimmy Norm.
Yeah,
But before we get to that, you
Norpedo
might have noticed
suck it!
Crunch Slabs has a new addition. My backyard. That's because to fight summer brain drain and make this your least boring summer ever, we created Camp Crunch Labs. Now, Camp Crunch
Crunch Labs,
Labs is a
that's pretty
12-week
cool.
virtual summer camp featuring weekly videos with mega experiments that I do, and then weekly super challenges that you do. And the best weekly challenge submission of the whole summer, it's a platinum ticket to come out here with me for the biggest mega experiment of them all, the final video of the summer. On top of that,
Bro,
use the
that's
Crunch
pretty
Labs
baller.
boxes where we build a really fun toy together, where I teach you all the juicy physics of how they work, comes every month. But to coincide with the Camp Crunch Labs weekly challenges and videos, we can ship them to you every week.
Yes! Look!
So if you want a 12-week summer camp where you can learn to think like an engineer with 0% chance of bug bites and poison ivy, head to campcrunchlabs.com to reserve one of the limited spots, and I'll see you at summer camp.
Oh, look who it is. Got you a little
look at
something. Number one.
I took the opportunity of admiring my new gift
going
to
down,
avoid making eye
Norpedo!
contact with the Norpedo
going
and
down!
his tactics of intimidation.
Got a bag of stuff here. Should be a little bit better than last time. Play ball.
The rematch was officially on,
All right, I'm at the mound.
Let's go.
and word must have spread because an even larger crowd had gathered to watch.
Ooh, they want
Playing
some
with
revenge.
the pros had been my childhood
some
dream,
revenge.
yet my last outing was closer to a nightmare. So I decided to give them a small taste of what they could expect for round 2, and wound up to deliver the hot, steamy appetizer. Dinner is served. Now all I had to do was retrieve and reload the brass slug. Because if you preload a brass cylinder against a spring in a 3D printed ball like this, and then take apart a $1 kitchen timer and harvest the geared mechanism, then when you wind up the wiffle ball hemispheres, you get a 1.5 second delay until this screw rotates and releases a spring-loaded plug, just like an astronaut wrench. And that alters the trajectory in midair, making it impossible to predict where to swing. And as you can see, unpredictability is a pitcher's best friend. Unfortunately, after just 2 strikes, they found my Achilles heel and rendered the ball useless. Which is exactly why you always have a backup plan. Ooh, just missed the strikeout.
Jeez.
This one used the same kitchen timer geared mechanism, only this time the 2 wiffle ball hemispheres were preloaded against each other with the spring. So after the 1.5 second delay, your hitting options went from 1 good one to 2 bad
it
ones,
literally
which
launched
was
in
just
half.
enough to secure my very first strikeout. Unfortunately, the crafty Norpedo deduced correctly that by simply stepping forward, they could make contact before the ball had time to split.
Oh,
Which meant it was time for the backup.
Torpedoes got
The
you!
Wifflecopter. And you might think now I'm just being a bit cheeky, but I did a thorough reading of the rules, and it's a strike if it hits anywhere on the pipe or metal plate above the 2 legs. But it makes no mention of front or back.
Let's go. Let's go. Exploiting loopholes.
Unfortunately, my smugness was short-lived.
Yeah, I was
You
about to say,
don't
I
become a
would hit the
professional wiffle
crap
ball
out of
player
it.
without a tremendous amount of hand-eye coordination. So with 2 runners on, it was time to level things up with this 3D printed, triple 10,000 RPM flywheeled monstrosity of a personal pitching machine, AKA the Demogorgon. Now the Demogorgon is calibrated to launch his cruise missiles at just under the 74-mile-per-hour speed limit on pitches in the league. The only problem is that kind of speed requires a lot of flowing electrons, and battery power soon became a concern. And that's just not a position you want to find yourself in with Captain Clutch at the plate. Sadly,
With
giving him
the
first lead of the game.
Norpedo!
And I was concerned things would start to get away from me. But thankfully, Jimmy can't take every at-bat. And after a pop-up and a root catch by the Red Baron,
Oh, there you go, there
I
you go, there you
survived
go.
the first
There you go.
inning with only 1 allowed run to show for it. For the first time, I was feeling good about our chances.
Science,
Which meant
it's
it was time
great.
to show the world I was more than
Now
just
you gotta hit the Norpedo.
How is that possible?
So it was another strikeout, but then Baron got on base, followed by Kyle with an absolute bomb to center field.
Let's go.
Straight
Sheesh.
over the green monster, which meant suddenly we were up
the lead,
1-2.
2-1.
For the first
2-1.
time ever, we were in the lead, and at this rate, Yeah, I struck out again. But we were still winning. And with the final play of the inning, Baron
that
capitalized
dub, get
on a
that
bad
dub.
throw to second for a potential inside the park home run. But there's a Major League Wiffle Ball rule where the strike zone doubles as the catcher. So if you don't beat the throw home, then you're out. And heading into the second inning, I was fresh out of batteries, so we had Kyle take the mound. And after 2 strikes, they got on base. Or at least they would have if first base didn't go rogue. And now that first base had a taste for freedom, going free range with a top speed of 50 miles per hour, I decided to bring him back after seeing the Norpedo was up next. Because there was plenty more where
50
that
miles
came
per
from.
hour?
But my dreams were crushed when he just norped it out of the park.
Oh, come on! Come on! Boo!
And now the game was tied, and Jimmy had
He's like,
clearly
forget your first
demonstrated he's a
base.
sore
Forget your
winner.
robotic first base.
On the next play, they hit one deep and were threatening to score again, but I had a short-circuited first base that needed some avenging. And with them ahead 3-2 headed into the bottom of the second, this was the perfect time for my lucky bat. And just as I'd hoped, the increased surface area put me on first base. And with a little teamwork, I scored a run, and we would have kept it going if someone wouldn't have struck out. Baron.
Oh. Mark.
Okay, fine, me too. So we were headed into the final inning, tied at 3, and we kept Kyle on the mound even though he said his arm wasn't at full strength. And of course, Captain Clutch took full advantage on the first pitch.
Jesus, dude.
So I volunteered to take over pitching duties. The problem was I had run out of gimmick wiffle balls and gimmick personal pitching machines. But thanks to
got this,
Power
Mark.
Pneumatics,
You got this,
I
Mark.
hadn't run out of gimmick strike zones, which gave my floater a bit more room to work with. So after getting 1 out with the generous strike zone, some good old-fashioned hustle got us the second. But with Jimmy
there you
at
go.
bat and knowing what was at stake, one of their players disconnected the airline, which honestly felt a little like cheating, but I took the high road and let it slide. This time, I was really out of tricks. It was just me versus Captain Clutch Norp himself.
Norpedo!
Mano y mano. And on my first pitch, I got him on the delayed riser. My second pitch, got him with my modified slider. If I was really gonna do this, I would need to rely on everything I had learned on this journey of discovery.
What?
And that was strike
What?
3.
What?
I had struck out the world's greatest wiffle ball player. And earning that subtle nod of mutual respect from the Norpedo sort of felt like a Michael passing the torch to Kobe type of moment. And down by 1 headed
Are you saying you're the next Kobe? Is that what you saying, bro?
into our final at bat, it lasted about as long as it took to immediately strike me out again.
That wasn't cool.
Now the game wasn't over yet, but instead of the 2 runs we needed to win, we quickly got 2 outs. But Baron kept our hopes alive with the base hit. And by some absolute miracle, I finally got a real hit fair and square. Oh yeah, go Mark! Which put
Go
me
to the
and Baron
base.
on second and third.
Let's go!
All right. Home
So
run
it all
wins.
came down to Kyle. And as soon as I saw contact, I knew it wasn't enough to clear the wall. So I started my mad dash with my sights set on home plate. It was a risky move, but I knew it would mean victory for our team. With Jimmy taking the cutoff at second, the gauntlet was thrown. His arm versus my legs.
I think Mark's
no
out.
More tricks.
I think Mark's out.
Okay, well maybe just one more trick. With a blast of air at 100 PSI, their catcher was nowhere to be found, clearing my triumphant return to that most beautiful of white rubber pentagons.
Let's go! If you didn't cheat, you ain't trying, baby!
As we celebrated the game, it almost felt like at any moment the streetlights would come on, signaling it would be time to head home for dinner. And I was
What a
reminded of the truth
video!
it feels like Jimmy and Kyle and all of their buddies have never lost sight of. Finding something you're truly passionate about that brings you joy is one of life's most lovely gifts.
Mark, what did you learn today?
And if you're lucky enough to have found it, you should protect and cherish it like your most prized possession.
Aww.
Have you ever seen a firewood chopping robot? Well, now you have. And while he can chop more than just firewood,
Oh my
his
god.
Jenga skills are severely lacking.
You lose.
Welcome to your least boring summer ever, aka Camp Crunch Labs.
You
What the heck is Camp
lose.
Crunch Labs, you ask? Well, it's a 12-week virtual
All right, he already talked about this a little bit ago. Let me bring you in, Sauce Gang! Fam! Dude, this video was so good. And I love the fact, maybe I'm not following him on Twitter. I think I need to, I just realized I don't think I'm following Mark Rober on Twitter because I never know when he's uploading, bro. I just get these videos out of nowhere and you're like, oh my God, it's Mark Rober time. But this was amazing, dude. I really enjoyed this because it really brought back a lot of memories of my childhood. Again, we loved wiffle ball, we loved kickball. That was like the bee's knees. I was a big kickball player, but and just and actually summertime, our big thing was I always had friends over. We always played basketball. And also my neighbor's house burnt down when I was a kid and they had like a permanent basketball hoop and an extra wide driveway. So we always played basketball in their driveway too, or mine, but that's just what this brought a lot of memories back of, was hanging out with my friends, playing sports, competing, that competitive drive that we all had. And we all bonded through sports, and that's just what this is, man. Just making memories, having a good time with your friends, and being thankful for the memories you can make. So thank you so much, Mark, for this video. I absolutely love this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you show Mark Rober some love by subscribing to his channel. And if you enjoyed my reaction, please help support the channel by smashing that subscribe and like button. It's absolutely free, and it greatly helps out the channel. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and remember, it's eat, sleep, and make beats, and as usual, be kind of one another. That's all I got. Boom, I'm out. Gonna be love for the Sauce Gang. Peace out, Sauce Gang.